Hey guys, we're going to talk about the CRKT Woods Kangee. Picked this up as an early Christmas present for myself. I always try and do that, sneak a couple gifts for myself in with the Amazon stuff. And so I got this the other day, and I wanted to make a video before I did anything with it, because I wanted to show you some of the flaws. And let's kind of backtrack a second and say that there's two kinds of channels on YouTube. There's the kind of channels that film commercials, and there's the kind of channels that film reviews. And I pride myself on the fact that I film reviews, not commercials. I make it my job to look these things over and to point out the good and the bad to you guys. Now, guess what, guys? I could go out and take this in the woods, chop a bunch of wood, make this thing look really awesome, and I would probably get tons of views, and that would bring in money, and then maybe companies that want to send me products, and it'd be great. But it's not honest. You know, it has flaws that you guys need to know about. So, instead of going out and doing that and filming a commercial, we're going to do a tabletop today. And I know, guess what? You know, going out and using these things, you get way more views. But the thing is people aren't doing this. They're going out, they're filming commercials, and there are some things that need to be addressed with this. So, okay, numbers first. This thing's 2 pounds, 20-inch handle, 1055 carbon steel, RC hardness of 50 to 55. Now that doesn't mean, hey, 50 to 55, go fish. No, it means it's hardened probably in the back to 50 and on the edge to 55. And if you look under certain lighting conditions, you can see what looks like a temper line. So I'm guessing that's where the difference is. All right. So I said we got some problems here. So let's get into those. First of all, we'll start with the handle. I haven't modified this in any way. So getting this head off was a nightmare. Tomahawks are meant to be friction fit tools. You're meant to be able to take this off and use it as a hand tool, you know, for carving, for maybe skinning, things like that. That's the beauty of a tomahawk. It's a friction fit tool. You should be able to just put the head on, boom, snap it into place. When you're done, boom, take it off. You know, that way it's very packable. You can separate it, you can put it in your belt. You know, it makes it very portable and a very much more useful tool when it comes to using it in the woods. You can use this as a hand tool. It is a hand tool and a hatchet, which is really cool. So this handle's got some issues. Now, first of all, the wood is really good. It's a really good piece of hickory. It's got a really nice grain to it. And there's really not any runoff except where the handle gets wider, which is, you know, that's unavoidable. Anytime you have thin to thicker, you're going to have some runoff. But for the main part, it's a very straight grained and nice hickory. And it seems to have a really good feel to it. You know, when I was out there using it, it had a really good feel to it, really good, you know, it felt like good quality hickory, just like a good axe handle. But it is lacquer coated, which some people hate, some people don't mind. I don't like it. I think it's very slippery. Even a little bit of sweat and this thing gets really slippery really quick. And if you look at videos, a lot of guys end up putting a grip on this because that lacquer is so slippery. Now, I can handle lacquer. You know, this isn't going to take me more than a couple minutes to sand down and fix that. But here's my complaint. Not so much for me, but for you guys who want a working product out. Look at all the spots where there's no lacquer. All this through here, there's no lacquer. Right here, there's no lacquer. There's a couple spots on this handle that have no lacquer. If you leave that, it's going to dry the handle out, and then it's not going to fit right anymore. It's going to keep popping loose, and it's going to be a problem. So, finish-wise, yep, obviously, you know, they didn't properly lacquer this thing. You can see it's lacquered through here. It's not where the head came off. All that lacquer is through here, but it's not right here. So, obviously, whoever sprayed it didn't spray it correctly. And you're probably going to notice, too, that there is a massive shelf on here. This head was press fit on. Now, why they would press fit a tomahawk is beyond me. It's a tomahawk. It's supposed to be friction fit. Why they would go and take the time and the effort to hydraulically press this head on blows my mind. It's, you know, why change the function of the tool and try and make a head permanent? You know, I don't get it. I'm completely baffled why they would why they would do that. You know, Cold Steel does it too, so it's not just these guys, but it's just, if you're going to make a tomahawk, make a tomahawk. Don't change the function because people don't understand it, but I guess I'll get off the soapbox on that one. So there's a really big shelf on here. So I'm going to have to sand that down and fix that. No big deal. I mean, I'm going to be sanding the lacquer off anyway, but for you, that might be a big deal. You know, who wants that? It's kind of, it doesn't look the best, number one, and then creating a shelf like that, you know, if that handle starts to dry up a little bit because the lacquer is not right, that's going to shrink back and that shelf, and then you're going to have that head flopping all over. And then you're going to have to sand it just to make it fit back on there correctly. Because once that shelf's in there, you lose the ability to friction fit the head because it's just going to stop at the shelf. So that drives me bonkers. You know, you're never going to get a true proper friction fit if you have a shelf like that. And when they hydraulically press these, it just creates a lot of work. Okay, so that's the handle. Good wood, bad fit and finish. Guess what? The head, same exact problem. Awesome design, terrible implementation. Now go out, check the other videos on these guys. You'll see, guys, this thing is an awesome splitter. It splits well, it chops well, it does everything well. It's a really good design. It is very well designed. It's really a remarkable tool. But once again, we got some issues. Number one, I have butter knives in my drawer that are sharper than this right now. The edge is pretty much rounded over, kind of like what you would expect out of like a mall katana, just like a completely rounded edge. No big deal. It won't take me long to sharpen it. But for you, maybe you didn't want a dull tomahawk that you paid 45 bucks for. You wanted one good to go. That's something important to note. This thing came really, really super dull. Number two, there are massive burrs let me catch the light right here. There are massive burrs in the head. You can just feel them in there. There's all kinds of burrs, which are going to keep your head from sitting properly on that handle. And you can see where it dug it up in a few spots from the things on the in the eye. And that's not cool. And you look too. There's a where is it? Oh, I lost it. But you can see, yep, there it is. You can see there's a nice gouge there from the head. That's from a huge burr that's inside that head. You know, and that's going to dig it up. If you're using this on a regular basis and removing and taking that head off like you're actually kind of supposed to, it's going to dig it up. So I'm going to have to go and file inside that eye and smooth all that out. And of course that's going to take out the finish, so then I'm going to have to refinish that, which I'll probably just glue it because it's in the inside, you know, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to have to file those out and then fix that. So altogether, guys, you know, I paid $45 for this. And I'm going to have to sand the handle to get rid of the finish and to get rid of that shelf. Probably stain it. Seal it with boiled linseed oil. Make sure the head fits on it correctly. And then I'm going to have to go and spend probably a good amount of time taking the burrs out of that eye and sharpening the edge. So I'm going to have to put 2 or 3 hours into this to make this a functional tomahawk, which is kind of disappointing. You know, when you spend $45 on something, it should be good to go. You shouldn't have to put a ton of work into it. And granted, I could use this like this. You know, it's dull. It's super, super dull. I could use it. But after time, I'm not going to get a proper fit on the head. And that's exactly why these guys who film commercials, why you see people putting electrical tape underneath the head. Why? Because these things come loose. Because you can't hydraulically fit these. It just doesn't, it doesn't work right. It just doesn't work. And that's why you see people with tape under the head, and you see people with all kinds of things on here for grip. I mean, this is not, I mean, lacquer on a tomahawk, there's no palm swell. There's nothing to keep this from flying out of your hands. Having a slippery material like that, that's an accident waiting to happen. So I don't know, guys. I mean, it's disappointing when you get a hold of something like this and you see all these things, and you kind of realize like what channels are honest and what channels aren't honest. You know, it's a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking it. You see the evidence. It is a fantastic tool, but if you want it to be right, you want it to be proper, you're going to have to put some work into it and some effort into it. Otherwise, you're going to be walking around with electrical tape on your tomahawk. And, you know, that isn't why you buy a tomahawk, guys. These things are meant to be a tool used in a specific way. You know, they're meant to be a tool that you can break down, use as a hand tool, and all that jazz. So to not do that because the company didn't do the right thing, to me, it's just, you know, like, you know, it's a little sad that nobody's called CRKT out on this. That they just, you know, threw some electrical tape on and were like, whatever, it's good. You know, that's not being a responsible YouTube channel, and that's why I do things differently here, guys. I don't film commercials. I try to give you guys reviews, and now that you've seen this, you know what you're getting into. Would I buy this again? Absolutely. Because I do think it's a great design, and it's very, very functional. Yeah, it sucks I gotta put a little more work into it than I expected, but that's the nature of the game. If you have specific needs for gear, you know, you're gonna have to make some mods, and that's fine, but, you know, it's sad that other people don't point this stuff out and they gloss over it, and all you see is people chopping and splitting and doing awesome things with it. So there you go, an in-depth look